Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Basement Growing Fun Guys podcast. This is November 6th, 2019. I am John.
And I am Tony. And today we're going to be talking about BlizzCon. We're going to be talking about new things, the John hype for World of Warcraft Shadowlands. We're also going to be talking briefly a little bit about what we're playing right now and why. But before we get started, I'm just going to address what I've come to know as the elephant in the room, or guess you should say the Blitzchung in the room, about the recent controversy surrounding the decisions of Blizzard Entertainment with regards to a popular Hearthstone streamer and the People's Revolution in Hong Kong. So, I, while we do not condone Blizzard's actions, and I do not agree with them personally, left a very sour taste in my mouth. The actions of the heads of the company and the few do not necessarily represent the actions and intentions of the developers and designers of the teams of the games that have worked and poured their passions into to create this art for us to enjoy. And so, with that being said, there are a few things it happened in BlizzCon that are sort of exciting. However, I am casually optimistic, not very strong, because I still have some strong reservations about everything that we've seen. So, that being said, John, you're playing World of Warcraft right now, aren't you?
I am playing World of Warcraft right now. You are correct.
Why are
Um,
you playing retail, John?
why am I playing retail and not classic? Because BlizzCon, um, BlizzCon 2019, has given us a new expansion or released a new expansion. Sorry. Um, World of Warcraft Shadowlands. And also the other reason I'm playing right now is also it's the 15th anniversary of World of Warcraft, which they got some cool stuff going on. But I'll talk about more about that in a few minutes. You want to talk about what you're playing right now, Tony?
I'm playing the Outer Worlds, like you should be too if you're a fan of RPGs in the Western style. Obsidian has put out a new game. I'm sure most of you probably heard of it. I believe it to be the true spiritual successor to Fallout New Vegas. It's a very nice RPG. I love The Outer Worlds. I think it's a really good story. The only criticisms that I have are it's too short. I wish there was more of it. Why the hell isn't there more of it? Please, Obsidian, I'm begging you. Second criticism, the gunplay's a little wonky. It's very obviously an afterthought and tuned for consoles. I'm just saying the shooting isn't super satisfying, but it is very nice to slow down time with your, I guess you could call it VATS 2.0, except it's not VATS because VATS is copyrighted, where you slow down time and pop some heads off with sniper rifles. That's still pretty fun. The gimmick is still pretty fun. But the characters are nice. They're funny. They're personable. They're relatable and you develop attachments to them. And overall, it's been a very, very fun time. But I've been playing that to curb the urges to play WoW Classic because while the game is great, it has kind of taken over my life and I need to get it back. So taking a break from that for now, playing some different games like the Outer Worlds, like Guild Wars 2, and I've been playing Pillars of Eternity as well. I'm getting into that old school RPG kick. I like that. So BlizzCon, right?
BlizzCon. Um, let's
BlizzCon.
let's talk overall BlizzCon. So what we saw from BlizzCon 2019 is we got a new Diablo 4 coming out probably 2020. Actually, I don't think we got a release date for that. I don't think we actually got a release date for anything. But I'm gonna
And I got
assume.
some shit to say about Diablo 4, but I'm gonna let you talk first, all right? Because it's gonna be a minute.
um, so I'm guessing pretty much everything we're going to talk about is probably 2020 release date at some point. I know like for the pre-order for World of Warcraft Shadowlands, it says on or before December 31st, 2020. So I'm
Right.
assuming. So we got Diablo 4, World of Warcraft Shadowlands, and Overwatch 2. Um, Now I know for me personally, and I'm only going to really touch on World of Warcraft Shadowlands because that's the only one I've really watched. are like I know a lot about. So, but clearly you have some words to say about Diablo 4. But so real quick, we'll talk about Overwatch 2. From
Ah, you mean the $60 Overwatch DLC to add in a PvE mode and some skins?
pretty much, uh, from what
That's
I
all I got to say about that.
from what I've seen, that's pretty much what exactly what Tony just said is what we're getting is a $60 DLC for Overwatch, um, to upgrade update some skins, give us a PVE thing, and that's about it. Um,
Yeah, because it doesn't even separate the multiplayer, and all the heroes have the same abilities and the same skins. It's
yeah.
not a two. It's not a sequel to the game. It's just a
Now,
TLC.
while I can understand why I do like not losing all the skins I've accumulated over playing Overwatch, that's great. But I just feel like the more character, and they are adding more heroes, so how are they going to continue to balance more and more heroes? And unfortunately, like it's not like League of Legends where you could have 100 fucking heroes, but it's because once you go into a match, once you select, like once your team selects its five and the enemy selects their five, that's it. Whereas Overwatch, you can continuously just, I just see them probably. I mean, they already have issues balancing shit, so I could see it getting worse.
It's really just gonna turn into like a if those heroes aren't accessible by people with the base game, it's just gonna turn into premium heroes. Like that's all that it really means is that like
Yeah.
if you don't have the quote unquote sequel to Overwatch, you're not gonna be able to play this new super overpowered stun locky super controlly hero, like all the other stun locky super controlly heroes that they've added.
So
So
either way, I'm not really looking forward to new Overwatch that
no.
much, just because
But
I mean,
Shadowlands.
yeah, Shadowlands were my shit at. So, I've always been a big fan of World of Warcraft, and even in retail World of Warcraft. Um, so I am pretty excited for a new World of Warcraft expansion. With World of Warcraft Shadowlands, yeah, we're gonna get a lot of. So far, we actually don't really know too much about the game. Like, in past expansions, we've gotten pretty well fleshed out expansion features, and um, oh, I died. We've gotten pretty well fleshed out expansion features and um, kind of what the expansion is going to be, but this time not really. Which I'm kind
Kind
of
of worries me a little bit.
it,
Worries me a little bit that we don't know that much about it because do we not know that much about it because they're keeping it intentionally hidden, or is it because they don't actually have that much?
I think they got a lot to work on, and so I'm kind of looking forward to what they release and what we get. Um, but from what they've kind of announced so far, I'm actually looking forward to it. So pretty much, let me break down the story from Battle for Azeroth into Shadowlands. So at the end of Battle for Azeroth, we are Sylvanas has gone to Ice Crown Citadel, to fight the Lich King. Um, so which
Bolvar
Bolvar's
gets defeated
yeah, Bolvar, the fucking Lich King, gets defeated by Sylvanas.
like a little bitch.
Now people might be like, why? How did Sylvanas beat the Lich King? Well, it's because she's been getting fed power from the Shadowlands. Which the story kind of like most people are kind of like, what's going on with the story? Why is she what happened? Whatever. This actually got kind of set up back in after Wrath of the Lich King and in between Cataclysm with the Edge of Night story, where when she threw herself off of Icecrown Citadel to try and kill herself because she didn't want to live anymore. That's where it kind of started, and that's where Blizzard's kind of laid the first Easter egg, but it's kind of a retcon really to try and push this new story. So anyway, so she goes to Icecrown Citadel and she fights Bolvar. Um, she kind of pretty much whoops his ass. I mean, Bolvar does some sweet shit, and it kind of looks like he's getting a handle on things. But then chains actually start growing out of these arrows that Sylvanas has put into him. These chains are kind of what those are kind of that power that she's gotten from the big bad of Shadowlands, which is called the Jailer. And so she's released. She started throwing these chains or shot arrows into him, and these chains started growing from them, and pretty much chaining him down. And then she threw one giant ice spike at him, and then that was pretty much TO for the KO for Lich King. But then after that, Bolvar's kind of just sitting there, kind of like looking like a little bitch, and Sylvanas rips the helm of domination off of him. Which I mean, and by rips I mean like she had like forcefully take it off of him. It was like kind of fused to him. She takes that off, and at that point, like
They
watching,
rip it in half. They
yeah,
rip it in half, and it creates the Shadowlands.
damn it, I was about to get to that. But before that happened, I was actually thinking that because there had been some speculation of an expansion called Wrath of the Lich Queen. Like Sylvanas was going to actually take the throne and whatever. But I'm kind of happy they didn't do that. Kind of a little bit happier they did what they did with the Shadowlands. So, as Tony said, and jump the gun, motherfucker, is that she grabbed the helm with both of her hands and ripped it in half. So what that ended up happening is shattering the barrier between Azeroth, our known plane of existence, and the Shadowlands. And now, and that's where our expansion is going to is the Shadowlands. So inside Shadowlands, you have 5 new zones, which is Bastion, Ardenwald, Maldraxxus, Revendreth, and the Maw. The Maw is an in-game only zone, so max level zone. Um, let's see. So inside each of these zones, so as you level first time that's a big thing. Alts are different. First time leveling through, you will play through each of these zones in a linear story, which is I kind of like linear stories a little bit more like than what Battle for Azeroth and Legion were, where they're kind of like pick where you want to go. And they weren't very linear. I like linear stories. Because I think they're just better stories, really, at that point. Anyway, so as you level through these 4 zones, you get to meet these 4 covenants. These covenants are kind of like your artifact slash Heart of Azeroth of this expansion. But from what we've been told, there's no AP grind. So hopefully that's true. Um, but
Right, but what's gonna be the retention plan though? If there is no power grind there, I mean, obviously there's gear from the dungeons and raids that are gonna be there, and from the Tower of the Damned that they're adding,
mhm,
which is like a roguelike dungeon progression where you progress through it and you face increasingly stronger monsters and you get rewards at the end. I mean, obviously that's gonna be the thing, but I feel like a big part of Legion that people progressed in was their order hall progression and their artifact power progression. And order hall progression, obviously, the parallel here would be your faction that you side up with in Shadowlands. But if they've said that no one's going to fall behind from not playing, what is the incentive then there? And also, what are the balancing um ideas that they have to balance these factions out? Because if you get different abilities based on the faction that you pick, obviously because it's an MMO, one of these factions is going to be the correct faction for you to pick based on your spec and class.
mhm,
It's like, oh, I'm a warlock, so I'm going to go with the vampire folks because they have this life drain curse that's really good, and I'm not going to go with Maldraxxus, even though I like them better because the slow poison dot that they give me is worse than this life drain curse. Obviously, those aren't actual examples of the abilities. I just made those up, but I could totally see it happening. Is like this is the correct one. So it kind of like keeps you from experiencing the character story that you want based on balancing, and I've
Mhm.
never liked that, you know?
Yeah.
I've never liked overpowered racials and shit like that. I've always just kind of wished it could be like pick what you like aesthetically and story wise, and then everybody's power level is the same based on the effort you put into it.
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
seems like it might be the opposite, where it is your power level is the same no matter what time you put into it. The only thing that matters is which one you've picked that one time.
Mhm.
You know?
So that is one of my concerns for this expansion is like Tony brought up is so with these covenants you do get abilities from them. One of which from what I gathered are mostly like your first ability is a mobility um ability, which is kind of like I know like Venthier's which are sorry, to talk about the actual covenants themselves is you have the Kyrian, which are from Bastion, Venthyr from Revendreth, the Night Fae from Ardenwald, and Necrolords from Maldraxxus. So in each of these, you do get different abilities. Like I said, as far as mobility, I think the Venthyr have um, a crap. What did he say? Um, a Reaper like ability from Overwatch, where you cast a spell and then a short minute or a short second later, you actually teleport to that place. Um,
Oh, like the Void Elf racial.
yeah, sort of. So with the Night Fae, actually they take your soul out. I think it's the Night Fae that have this one. I forget, but they actually take your like soul out of your body, and you're actually able to move around. Or that actually might be a different one, but I'm not sure. But one of one's also like your soul will leave your body, and then like you can walk to a place and then actually pull your soul to yourself. Um, so that's pretty cool. Um,
But which one's the best one
I
though?
know. But so getting into that is there is your second ability you get from each uh covenant is a more class or I think it might be spec specific ability, which brings into what Tony's point was and what scares me is your I'm a little concerned about like okay, I kind of like the idea of the Bastion or Bastion in the Kyrian as far as looks, aesthetics and whatnot. But I don't know if the best abilities I'm going to get the best ability from. So I
It
don't know if I
almost
want
seems like these factions are almost designed for certain classes, you know?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it feels like rogues and warlocks should go with the Rev and Dreth, the cool ass vampires, right?
Hmm.
Death Knight should go with Maldraxxus, and Shadow Priest should probably go there too.
Yeah.
Paladins and warriors should go with Bastion, and then druids and shamans should go with Night Fae. I mean, it kind of seems like they're kind of pushing people towards that way. It just really concerns me the balancing there. But honestly, we can pull conjecture on this for as long as we want to, but we really don't know. Like Blizzard hasn't told us anything substantial thus far
Hmm.
about all of the rewards you're going to get from each one and what they mean, and
Yeah.
their retention plan and the itemization. They did announce, as you informed me earlier, legendaries, the system they're going to have for legendaries. You want
Hmm.
to talk about that?
And well, what real quick, there is a little bit of a retention plan with the covenants, as far as in the form of tier, well, not tier sets, but armor sets and mounts that are supposedly upgradable. I don't know how that works, and that you should be able to change their appearance like your artifacts from Legion. Now, yeah, let's talk about what Tony just brought up with the legendaries. So, unlike Legion and past kind of like the past couple of ones where they kind of just got handed out willy nilly, um, and they haven't really been the best ones to get usually when you get them. So with this one, there is a place called the Tower of the Dam, which is I think called Targast. What that is a ever changing um, never be the same kind of thing, kind of solo to 5 player dungeon. So pretty much what you'll do is you'll go through this, like, every time is going to be different. You can go by yourself or have up to 4 friends, so like a dungeon. But it's always changing, always different, and then there's I think you can actually upgrade kind of abilities. It's kind of like um I think they kind of said it's like roguelite kind of games. So but within that, you'll get rewards from getting how far you get. And part of that is that you'll get uh stuff to craft legendaries. And so what the great part about that is that you're actually going to be able to craft the legendaries that you need or you want, not just getting a random drop from a world drop like in Legion that, oh great, I got this legendary, but it's really not any better than my epic. So, and
Right.
that's not the legendary I want. So, boo-hoo. So I think that's actually a little bit better. What's your thoughts?
I don't really have any strong feelings one way. I didn't really like the legendary system in Legion. I'm glad that it's not that.
Mhm.
But I kind of miss when legendaries were legendary.
Mhm.
Like when you saw someone with a legendary, you went, "Holy shit." Like you didn't just go, "Oh, yeah, I need to go grind that a little bit more this week. Hopefully, I'll get that one soon."
Yeah.
No, it was like, holy crap, that guy is Shadow Mord? Oh my god, he's ripping up the fucking battleground. He's crazy, dude. No,
Mhm.
it's not like that anymore. And I think that's a little disappointing. I kind of like that. I liked having something to aspire to. It's probably why I'm not super excited for Shadowlands. I mean, some of the stuff looks kind of cool. I mean, the vampire faction looks dope, but I don't know what kind of retention it's going to have.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's going to keep me playing. But even if it doesn't, you know, play for a couple of months, see the story, maybe play around, see they haven't changed a damn thing with PvP in the last 5 years, and then just go play classic again. you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. You get 2 for 1 with your sub. So,
Yeah.
you have anything else to say about Shadowlands?
Um, I don't know. Let me think here. So we covered the covenants, the new zones, Torghast.
Yep,
Um,
legendary.
yeah, we covered legendaries and oh,
Because
the new
they just don't
leveling.
have much. Oh yeah,
Okay,
new leveling, right?
so
That's pretty big.
that's actually a really big thing. Is the leveling experience coming in with Shadowlands, and so from now on, we are like the whole entire leveling thing. So from level 1 to 120 is getting squished down to 1 to 50. Um, so what that means is pretty much is like what you'll level from 1 to 50, but then Shadowlands will be from 50 to 60. Um, 50 to 60. So
That's
and
good. You can level in whatever expansion you want. You can start, 1 to 10 is the same level of starter experience, and it's like you want to go do Legion, you can go do Legion. You want to go do Pandaria, you go do Pandaria, and then the expansion will level you all the way up to 50, and then you do the real content.
yeah.
So you don't have to slog. And I think that's good for the game. I think props to Blizzard because it seemed like a lot of their design for a long time was to make leveling as tedious as possible, almost like a mobile game where you pay to not grind, and selling boosts was evidence of that. It's like you can just pay to bypass this boring slog that you've done a million times. Now it's
Mhm.
just kind of like, oh, I just do one expansion's worth of content and I hop right into Shadowlands. Like that's
Yeah.
super alt friendly,
Yeah.
you know
So, yeah, and that's kind of like a good thing is like that, and for okay, so I think they said for like first time players now, there'll be a level like and for I think every player there's even alts, there's a 1 to level 10 like leveling experience, like kind of like island expedition kind of or scenario kind of thing, like starter zone, whatever you want to call it. Um to get you from level 1 to 10. And then from 10 to 50, you will pick an expansion and you will level through that entire expansion and then you'll or sorry, I was talking about first time player. So you are as a first time player, you have to play through Battle of Azeroth. Um, which kind of makes sense as far as like, they want to tell the story and whatnot going into into Shadowlands. So, but as an alt, you can pick whatever expansion you want. Um, and I think they said it should be like 50 to 7 or 60 to 70% faster leveling.
Hmm.
So, that should be good.
It's huge.
Yeah. And the other thing they're also announced is that all races will be able to be Death Knights, which because part of the things with Shadowlands is that I think all with Bolvar is raising new Death Knights to fight in Shadowlands, and that's kind of how they put that into the story as far as
You
you
can
know.
even be a panda Death Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Hooray for pandas!
I don't know how I feel about that, but
Yeah. Hey,
so
I love pandas. I had a panda hunter that I do. But
yeah,
anyways, I digress.
that's
I
pretty
think that's a
much
good
it.
change for leveling. I think that's a really good change. The only concern that I had was how soloing old content is going to work. But Blizzard has said anything you can solo now, you can still solo that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I believe them. I mean, they have technology in place already to scale multipliers based on damage done and damage taken for previous expansions content.
Yeah.
So I just assume they're just going to do the same thing, and you're still going to be able to solo old content that you were able to solo before. So
Mm-hmm.
nothing lost there, only gain. I think that's a good change for the game. It's
Yeah.
very rare that I see something that's changed for the game, and I'm just like, oh, overall, that's a good decision.
Mm-hmm.
There's no double-edged sword there.
Yeah. So
Anyways, so is that all you have to say on Shadowlands right now?
I think so. They got they got a pre-order up already. You
Wait,
know, if you want
don't
to find,
pre-order.
huh?
Don't pre-order. Don't do it.
I'm going to pre-order. I'm not telling anyone on here to pre-order. Like, pre-order at your own risk. That's what I should say. Disclaimer: pre-order at your own risk. I'm not. I'm going to play it. I always have. I've played every single expansion. I'm not going to stop. So, I think but that pretty much covers it for World of Warcraft Shadowlands. And I didn't really hear too much about in terms of Warcraft. They didn't really talk about too much about Classic or Warcraft 3 Reforged. So not really going to talk about that here. But you have some stuff to say about Diablo 4, don't ya?
I sure do.
Well,
So,
get after it then.
folks, I am what you might consider a Diablo fan. Love Diablo. I've loved the series ever since I was knee high to a grasshopper. It was one of the first big boy games I ever played. I played the shit out of Diablo 2 and Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, and I was immersed and in love. And then Diablo 3 came along, and I was so excited. You remember how excited we were, John. You remember when we had a
Mm-hmm.
LAN party when Diablo 3 came out, and we grinded all night long to beat
Mm-hmm.
all four acts, and then we beat Act 4 and we killed Diablo, and we cheered, and it was amazing. And then the
Mm-hmm.
game itself quickly lost its luster when we got to endgame and realized that it was a very short reminder of what we could have had
Mm-hmm.
and did not have.
Yeah.
Diablo 3 then became a good game. I would say a good game. I would argue, yeah, it's a good game. After Reaper Souls came out, it became a good game. There was good progression, there was good itemization. I mean, you could good is relative. I played the hell out of Reaper Souls after it came out. I had a monk, he was my life. I played him so much that like I did recently with Classic, was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? This isn't fun anymore. And then stopped playing when I realized I had logged 200 hours in like the last couple of weeks. trying to get a max attack speed on my flying dragon Daibo, and I realized that wasn't fun anymore, and I stopped playing. But um, Diablo 4 has come on the horizon as a new game that, at first glance, appears to be aesthetically very similar to Diablo 2. I think they're definitely taking after the Path of Exile style of animation and combat speed and overall look and feel and aesthetic.
Hmm.
And that was one of the biggest criticisms I had of Diablo 3 overall, was the aesthetic. Diablo 2 was dark and it was depressing and gothic and gritty, and everything was just oozed that sense of Diablo, and you knew it when you saw it. And then Diablo 3 decided to take almost all of that and just slap it with a Pixar brush and make everything cartoony. Even though it was bloody, even though it was violent, it was still cartoony, right? It was still cuboid and cartoony, and it just felt bouncy to me. Everything felt a little bouncy, and they used that god awful sans serif font for all of the menus. And I don't know why game designers think that the font doesn't matter. It's like, look, okay, by trade, I develop things for companies. All right. I know web development. I know sans serif font is easier to read. I know every goddamn website uses a sans serif font in almost every situation just because that's the way it goes. Game development is not web development. Quit using ugly ass sans serif fonts for everything that you make, game developers. Okay? I swear to God, every time I enter into a medieval RPG, okay, where everything's all like, "Oh, yon lord, forsake thee for no," and then you open up a menu and it's that ugly ass sans serif font, and you're just like, "What the hell is this?" It pulls me out of it. Okay,
Hmm.
keep that in mind, Blizzard. If anyone who works for your company uses it, download the original Diablo 2 font pack so that the circles have little crosses in them. Or I swear to God, I'm gonna come there. I'm gonna come to California and I'm gonna write you a sternly worded letter.
Yeah.
Okay,
So.
so the point is that I was trying to make is that the theme is there, right? It
Hmm.
seems to be there. However, there does seem to be quite a few, and I mean quite a few, gameplay elements that I am not a fan of whatsoever. Number one, all right, there are three classes: barbarian, sorcerer, and druid. Okay,
Seems
that seems a
limited.
little sparse, right?
Hmm.
You know why it seems sparse? Let me put on my tinfoil hat. They're gonna make you pay to unlock new classes. I guarantee it. Just like they did with Necromancer in D3, right? That's like, that's the expansion. It's you can play a new class. No, that's not an expansion, but they're gonna do that. So they only have three. Um, Second thing, open world forced multiplayer. Okay, I don't like that, and I know you picked that one person because I watched the little BlizzCon panel of the gameplay
Hmm.
of Diablo 3. You know, I watched the panel, the systems and features panel. I know why you got the developer that very obviously disagreed with that decision to explain why it's not that bad, is because it's not Diablo, okay?
Hmm.
It's not an MMO. This isn't an MMO. It's an ARPG, all right? So you have options, quote unquote options is what they said. But the fact of the matter is, after you complete the campaign in a zone in the open world, that open world becomes multiplayer and other characters will be in the zone with you,
Hmm.
fighting monsters, interacting with you, whether or not you party up with them or not. That's one thing that they said is like, you still have the decision to play solo, and it's like, yeah, and you can still play MMOs solo too. That doesn't mean you're not missing out on something. That doesn't mean the other players aren't there and you aren't interacting with them in some way, whether it's killing a monster next to them or you are looking at their character and witnessing their armor.
Hmm.
Some people say have a little bit of pride in the aesthetics of their character. Maybe you're playing through the game and your character looks like trash and you don't want anybody to see it yet. I mean, it's a small thing, but
Hmm.
what if you don't want that, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't like that. Okay. I don't like the itemization that they have. I don't like that. It's the exact same as D3, okay, with the addition of one more level. Basically, there's, rares, and then there's legendaries and set pieces. They're supposed to be on the same level. They're supposed to be about the same power. And then you have mythics, which are basically just legendaries with more traits on them. They're like on steroids. I really do not like the fact that they neutered the stat system to just be attack and defense, because that is the only stat that you have besides the actual effects of the gear. It is just attack and defense. It's just that there's no strength, agility, intellect, resistances. Nah, attack, defense, simple. And it's dumbed
Hmm.
down. I assume it's dumbed down for like couch co-op. Like, they want people who hop in to play a match with their friend who's not really a gamer, but let's play anyways, to just be like, oh, well, this is obviously better. Like, they don't want to have to take the time to think about it like an actual RPG should make you think about it.
Hmm.
I don't like that. I do like that they're bringing back runes, condition runes and effect runes. I like that. That's cool. I like the talent tree. The talent tree looks fairly old school. I kind of like that too. You have decisions to make there for making your character stronger. I don't know what the respec options are. They didn't really cover it. Um, I don't. I just. I don't like the itemization. I don't like how few classes there are. And if they add a sans serif font to the menus, I am going to fucking scream.
Hmm.
So I can't say that because of those things, I am super, super excited for D2 or D4, I mean.
Hmm.
Because like D3, I feel like I'm going to play through it once, beat the story, and be like, wow, that was thematically pretty solid. And then I'm going to go into the end game loop
Hmm.
and then realize, oh, well, the itemization sucks and I don't really have fun getting new items, you know?
Yeah.
As they said, with the frequency of legendaries, quote unquote, legendaries will not fall from the sky, right?
Hmm.
Does that mean I'm just going to be getting mostly rares? And if I am getting mostly rares, how is that fun? Because all the stats on the rares are just attack and defense. There's no actual stats on them. It's just
Yeah.
attack and defense. So I could tell literally within less than a second, as long as you know 5 is bigger than 4, like you learn in kindergarten, that, one is better than the other, right?
Hmm.
That's not interesting. That's not fun. I'm not into that. I do like that they're slowing down combat, and I do like the small change in dungeons. There is no loading screen between level 1 and level 2 anymore. You can just walk straight to the next level of the dungeon. I kind of like that. That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
It's just a bunch of small things where you're just kind of like, oh, that's pretty neat. And then a couple of big things that are like, ooh, yeah, good. So only time will tell whether this game will be good or not. I have a strong feeling like 99% of people who try out D4 are just going to be playing Path of Exile within a month.
Yeah. No, so I like playing Diablo 3 the first time I played it. But the problem is I have issue. It's hard for me to play games like Diablo, Path of Exiles because it's just the repetitiveness of it just drives me insane. I just can't do it. Um, so I'm not really looking forward to D4 at all. I probably won't buy it. I probably won't play it. Just because I don't want to sink money into it, especially with I'll probably actually might get Overwatch 2, but I am definitely going to get Shadowlands. So I gotta kind of watch the budget, if you know what I mean. Um, so the one thing I want to hop back to Shadowlands real quick. So, and this is a big thing I forgot is they are calling it the unpruning, and like the big thing that happened like since Kata Pandaria and whatever is that classes were majorly pruned down to make them simpler. Um, and a lot of people were not happy about that because you kind of lost your class identity. And so they're starting to undo that again, and they're bringing back some old abilities and some old things. And the big thing I want to bring back, because I am a paladin and I've been a paladin since day one, is they're bringing back auras. Thank fucking god. because
Yay.
you might not think it's a big deal, and realistically, it doesn't really mean shit. But it's just one of those things that you have a paladin in the group when you haven't. There's that little shield or hammer or whatever show up in your little buff bar. You know you got a paladin, and he's there with you, and it's just it's one of those things. Like, and I never really paid too much into class, whatever. But when I lost my auras and when I lost certain things, I was just like, oh damn,
So
I'm
yeah,
just
it's a pretty big bummer.
I'm just a warrior with like some flashiness.
As a
So
fellow paladin, I do agree. The day that we lost our auras was a very sad day indeed.
so they're bringing those back. They're bringing back some totems. They're bringing back a bunch of stuff, and I think I'm going to speculate, and I hope this is true. Um, I think this might be an extremely good expansion. I'm not going to say it's the best one. That's Wrath of the Lich King for me is still the best expansion, and probably always will be. Um, as I go through the Wrath of the Lich King part of the 15th anniversary event, but I think this could be a really good expansion. From some of the stuff seen and some of the stuff they're talking about and things that they're saying, I think this could be a good expansion. But time will tell. We'll see how it goes. Um, so with that being said, talked about Diablo 4, talked about Overwatch, talked about World of Warcraft.
Yes.
Got anything else?
I think that is it for me. I think we have covered everything that we have wanted to cover based on BlizzCon. Honestly, it hasn't been that many things at BlizzCon, but the things that have been announced have been pretty big. So,
What- so as a kind of just a, I know we're as this podcast grows and goes on, and hopefully we will get into more of a regular basis. I know we've been the original idea was to do weekly podcasts, and I know if you look at our podcasts and our release dates, they have
it's my
not been
fault.
weekly.
It's my
Yeah.
fault. I'll admit it. It was my fault. It's completely my fault. I flake. It's my fault. I'm sorry. God, I'm sorry.
Except for last week. Last week was kind of my fault because I was out of town. Um, but anyway, so we're going to try and do weekly podcast, and um, shit, I forgot where I was going.
We're going to be
Uh,
doing weekly podcasts.
yeah, we're going to be doing a weekly podcast. But yeah, we like we said, we haven't really done them in a while. But so one thing I think we are going to try and do, or no, fuck, what am I don't know what I'm talking about. Jesus Christ. Oh, sorry. The main thing I was going to talk about is we're shooting for an hour long podcast, so we do have 17
Right.
minutes left. One thing I actually do want to bring up, which we were going to cover this on a podcast that we were supposed to record several weeks ago, but we didn't. Um, Tony's fault.
Sorry.
Is Metallica released S&M 2.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So with the little time we have, I think I might talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so okay, so for people who shit, fuck, I fucked up. All right, I'm dead. Oh well. So for people who don't know, is Metallica back in 1999 really with in partner with the San Francisco Philharmonic Orchestra released a live album. Well, they did two live shows. I think it was two. And they recorded it. And they called it S&M. In their live out, and they released a live album for it. Pretty much what it and it it meant a lot to me because that's what got me into metal. Hearing the S&M version of Enter Sandman is what got me into metal, and so it was a big kind of like that album has a lot of sentimentality for me, and that's why Metallica, even though I do like other bands more, I think other bands are better, is still, they're my third favorite band behind Sabaton and Monomarth, just because Sabaton and Monomarth have released so much music that I absolutely love and could not do without over the years. But Metallica is number three just because of sentimentality, and So with that, the 20th anniversary of S&M, the first one, they released and they did two more shows and they recorded that and they released S&M 2. Now the cool thing they did with that is that they released it in theaters. So not everyone could of course be there for the concert that was in California. The only two that they did. And so they recorded it, and within a month, which this is a crazy thing. And if you actually ever see this, the production quality for being recorded and then released in a month is insane. But so I went to this theater with my dad, which he is the one who I think he's the one that bought the original S&M album, and that's where I found it was at my parents' house. Um, and it was my dad's, and so we went and saw this. Now, I was kind of going into this kind of like, how is this going to go? Because you're going to go see a concert in a movie theater. Is it going to be kind of like are you going to treat it like a concert? Are you going to like, sing along? Are you going to chant? Are you going to do all this stuff? Or are you just going to sit there and be quiet? Um, so that was kind of a little weird going in, but once it started, and actually the one thing is like the way they opened it, they had like a little intro section of them talking about the history and stuff, and Robert Trujillo, kind of at the end of the intro was like, we don't want you to sit down, we want you to be crazy, we want you to go wild, whatever. So this gets going, and it's pretty much just like S&M. They have they in the original S&M, and like it wasn't just like orchestra playing the songs. It was like they had parts are written not to like they weren't the songs. They were like accompaniment to the song. So it wasn't that they were just playing the song. They added to it in just different ways, and it's a really cool thing. Um so with that, they did some of the songs that were on the original S&M album, and then they did some new ones, a lot of their newer stuff, because before the first S&M was released before Saint Anger, so this one kind of had more stuff from Saint Anger, um, for no crap, shit, what's that album called? Death Magnetic, Jesus, and Hardware to Self Destruct. But I mean, I there was a point where I almost cried. Like going like sitting there in the intro, like sitting there and like about to watch this. I almost cried because of how much this actually meant to me. Because like I said, this is where it started, and metal has been such a big part of my life. I just sitting there in the movie theater was just like, even though I'd rather of course been there in person to watch the concert, but I don't have that kind of money, but it was just such a cool thing to sit there and be a part of this. And as the concert went, like everyone was kind of quiet. No one really did anything. But uh, um, but as the show kind of went on, I was kind of singing along a little bit, quietly. Um, but then some person, I don't know who, but got out a beach ball in a movie theater, and I'm kind of like, what the fuck? And the thing is, like, they were trying to get at the people to bounce around, and a couple people were playing along that, whatever, but it kind of just like a lot of times it just fell somewhere, and then like a couple minutes later it might pop up again. But that's the thing that kind of broke the ice. But then there were actually like people like towards the end, and it kind of felt more like a concert. And that again, that just kind of added to the fact that you're sitting here doing like being a part of something, and it was just special. So I don't know. That's what I got to say about
That
that.
sounded that sounded really nice. I kind of wish I could have been there. It sounded very fun.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, and um I'm trying to think of what they played in my head. Uh if you look at
They probably played some Metallica songs.
Yeah, they did. A couple. Oh, my favorite part of the whole entire show. They had a bassist come on. That I guess I don't know if he knew Cliff Burton, which is the original bassist, for people who don't know. Cliff Burton was the original bassist for Metallica. Before James Newsted took over in 1986, I think it was. And then Robert Trujillo took over for him in like 2001 ish, I think. So Cliff Burton was the original Metallica bassist and probably one of my favorite metal bassists, even though he only released 3 albums um, before his unfortunate passing in 1986. Um, but what was cool is they had like a traditional double bass. Well, it was an electric double bass guy come up and play, and he played Anesthesia Pulling Teeth off of Kill 'Em All. For people who don't know what that is, it's pretty much like the whole song is a bass solo that Cliff Burton did on the first Metallica album, Kill 'Em All, and he just fucking played it. And then there's a drum like halfway through the song. Lars comes in with the drums and starts playing, and it was just really cool. Um, and Cliff was one of the people, one of the bassists that's got me into playing bass. Cliff, um, mainly Cliff Burton and Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. So that part was really fucking cool. And then like part of a couple other things is like they played a couple songs that were pure orchestra, or Metallica actually played a song that was an orchestra song, and so that was actually really cool. Um, and then they actually did a really cool version of Unforgiven 3 from Death Magnetic, where the band didn't play at all. It was just the orchestra and James Hetfield playing. So that was really sweet, and there's like a really lot of cool moments in it. But yeah.
Hmm.
So you got anything to talk about?
No.
Well,
I kind of wish I was there. That sounded like a lot of fun.
sorry. Um,
No, I understand. It just sounded like a thank you for sharing that.
yeah.
That sounded really nice.
Um,
But that's all I have for
yeah.
tonight.
I don't really want to drag it on out too much longer, but I think one thing we are going to be planning on doing here, and we might actually have,
Albums of 2019.
which will probably come towards the end of the year, which we are getting to. So,
Yeah, exactly. We're in
uh,
November now.
no, the one thing I was going to say is like, possibly doing, uh, we are going to be starting up a D&D campaign with a couple friends of ours,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm super excited.
and Mr. Tony over here is going to be our dungeon master. So
Yes.
now I'm not going to go too much into that, but
Mhm.
that might produce
That
some funny stories. Let's just say.
it definitely might. It definitely might. And I'm not even going to tell you funny viewers which campaign we're going to be doing cuz I kind of want to keep that a secret until the session 0 so people don't have any wrong ideas about what we're going to be doing, but I'm very excited. I'm prepping like a madman. I've read the entire manual for the campaign front to back a couple of times, and I have some plans in mind.
Yeah.
So,
Um. Now I have never actually played. I have tried with Tony actually in the past a couple times. I think of
mm,
trying to get a D&D campaign going. I have yet to be successful. Um.
I think this time we're going to be successful.
I really hope so. We got a good group of people, good couple of characters. And I think there's definitely a variety of characters going into this. I think we're going to be pretty good combo. Combination of players and characters coming out of this. So, um, yeah. So hopefully that, like I said, that will come up with some uh fun fun stories to tell you guys.
And at the
Uh,
end of the year, we're going to be doing the top albums of 2019.
yes, we are.
Or even
Um,
better yet, since it's the end of the decade, we could do the best albums of the 2010s.
oh my God, you just blew my mind. Um, we could
Why
do
not?
both. Yeah, we could do. Yeah, fuck, dude, Jesus. Same thing with movies, because at some point we got to talk about movies. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
top movies of 2019, top movies of the decade. You know, um, yeah. So we got a lot to talk about. All right. So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up a little early this time. Not too early, but I hope you guys enjoy November. Um, Jesus Christ, we all died. Um,
Happy Turkey Day,
yeah.
everyone. Hope
Um,
you had a good Halloween.
okay. You know what? Okay. Sorry. One more. I want to talk about. I want to get your opinion on this, and then we'll fill it up. Fill this.
Okay.
Use this to fill up the rest of
Okay.
the time.
Okay.
How do you feel about people going straight from Halloween to Christmas?
You know, when I was but a lad, I liked to hop on the train of hating all the things that were cool to hate and all the things that other people hated as well, right?
Hmm.
But as I've gotten a little older, I've learned to realize I don't really care if people jump straight from Halloween to Christmas. I mean, if they wanna, that's fine. I'm not gonna, 'cause I love Thanksgiving. But if they really want to, if they want to make the holiday season stretch out a full 2 months, screw it. Why not? But what I want to know is where are the people that stretch out the holiday season in the other direction? I think January is a super bleak holiday because Christmas is over. Generally, when Christmas is over and New Year's is over, everybody takes down the lights and they just suffer for the cold, damp winter for the next 3 months, right?
Hmm.
Why
That's
don't people celebrate Christmas the month after as well?
yeah,
Let it bleed over instead of take Thanksgiving spotlight.
yeah. I think that's a good point. I like what you say there. Now traditionally, for me, we pretty much we do kind of wait till after Thanksgiving for setting up Christmas decorations, but I can carry the weight. Now the people I have a problem with are the people who start doing Christmas before even Halloween. Like what kind of what are you doing with your life, man?
What if they're just Nightmare Before Christmas fanatics?
Eh, maybe. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess.
It's okay. I don't hate you if you celebrate Christmas before Halloween, but I don't understand you. But I don't have to understand you to support you in your decision.
Well,
Uh, that's all I got, though.
all right. Well, this has been the podcast for December. Oh, not December. God damn it, I messed it up. All right, I'm gonna try this again.
November 6th, 2019.
Yep. All right. This has been the podcast for November 6th, 2019. Have a good one and good night.